In this video, we will cover how to actually start buying real estate as soon as possible. You may be like me when I was starting out. Maybe you're not sure how to even do step 1 of getting your first rental, but you probably would like to secure your family's future and create a legacy for yourself. If this is you, you will find this video super helpful because I go over the 4 action steps that I took personally along my journey of becoming a professional real estate investor. Hi, my name is Ryan Chaw, your friendly neighborhood real estate investor, and I teach new investors how to get their first profitable deal. Now, the first step that you should take is saving up what we call capital. Capital is the amount of money you need to buy your first property. When I got started investing, I was really excited about building up these passive income streams to create a strong financial foundation. My grandpa inspired me by purchasing properties in the San Francisco Bay Area back in the 50s while working in the US Army. He used the money from the rentals that he bought to help cover not only part of my college tuition, but that of my brothers as well, which created generational wealth for our family. I wanted to do the same for my future family, so I was ready to work very hard. I put in 14 to 16 hour shifts at my very first job, and I also worked a second job so that I could have enough pay to buy my very first rental. For you, I recommend having a very strong why for working all these extra hours. Otherwise, you just burn out and forget why you're even doing it. For me, it was that creation of that generational wealth, as I mentioned earlier, but also because I had a bad experience with my former manager at my job. My manager would constantly micromanage me, and I felt like my efforts were never really appreciated. And sometimes I even felt like he was out to get me. For example, he told me that he could track my computer logins and my badge access, even if I got up to go to the vending machine to go get a snack. Knowing that I could be fired and replaced at any time made me feel very financially insecure. And though pharmacy can be a very rewarding career, don't get me wrong, that one experience left me feeling misaligned with my goals of having a career that's flexible and something that I could build up and call my own. So that is my why. Make sure you take some time to ask yourself, what is your why? If you want more tips for building up your capital quickly after you watch this video, you can also check out my video titled, Use These Strategies to Buy a Rental by the End of 2024. I'll put a link in the description below. Okay, now let's move on to step number 2 of buying your first rental property. And that is to choose a strategy and find a mentor who teaches that strategy. There are so many strategies out there, and it's so hard to focus on just one strategy and not fall for something called shiny object syndrome. Shiny object syndrome is when you see a lot of really cool and exciting things around you and you want to check them all out and you forget about your original plan. I was like this at first, like the talking dog from the movie Up. Every time he sees a squirrel, he stops whatever he is doing and he says, "Squirrel," showing how easily distracted he is. For me, I was interested in a lot of different areas of real estate investing. Single-family home, student housing, buying a large apartment complex, or maybe even flipping houses. Now, focusing on just one of these does not mean that you could pursue another one later. But you know that saying, becoming the jack of all trades means you're a master of none. So how do you even choose? Well, here's how. I ask myself, how can I justify choosing this one thing over choosing the others? And what's key is that your justification can never be about just the money it makes. If it is, trust me, you will fail quickly because as soon as you stop making money, which happens for sure at some point in time, you then lose all of your motivation to continue on. And instead, you start questioning, did I make a huge mistake? What am I even doing? So it is important to be intrinsically motivated rather than being motivated only by money. Instead, ask yourself, could you see yourself doing this on a daily basis, even if you weren't paid much at the start? And also, does it get you excited? For example, I was drawn toward investing in student housing homes because I was a recent college graduate and I could relate to my target tenant market much better, which was college students. I also had a horrible dorm room experience with my roommate, sorry Todd, nothing personal, that set his alarm for 6 a.m. so I woke up super early every single morning. I also had to share a communal bathroom with 20 other freshmen. Also, there were not too many affordable housing options nearby campus, so I wanted to provide college students with a better experience than I had. I also could invest in my alma mater college town, where I felt enough familiarity to put down an offer on my very first rental property. Now, let's talk about step number 3, analyzing a deal. To do this, you will use the cash flow equation, which is your rental income minus your expenses. And that equals what we call your cash flow. For rental income, you can go to rentometer.com. So I go to rentometer.com and plug in a property address that I found on Zillow. I'm going to go ahead and take this one in Houston, Texas here. And I'm going to go ahead and paste it into where it says address here. I can just put in a current rent of $1,000. This house is actually big enough that we can get 4 bedrooms in there. And for bathrooms, it was 2 bathrooms, but I can just put 1.5 or more here. And I'll go ahead and click on check my rent. And it looks like for 4 beds, 1.5 bathrooms or more, the average rent is $3,163 a month. Now we just need to look at expenses. First, there is your mortgage payment, which includes your property taxes and homeowner's insurance. Next, there's your general maintenance expenses, which includes things like landscaping and if you have to fix a broken appliance. Finally, there is your vacancy rate, which is basically your lost rent due to your property not being occupied by a tenant. Now, there are other expenses as you grow, but because this is your first rental property, and for simplicity, these pretty much cover most of your bases. Once you have your expenses, you just deduct that from your rental income to get your cash flow. Generally, I aim to make at least $1,000 per month in cash flow if I'm investing in an expensive city where the home prices are very high. And I usually aim for at least $2,000 per month or more in cash flow in a city that has lower cost housing. Now, a lot of this might sound as clear as mud, so why don't we take an example to make things easier. Let's say I buy the house that I plugged into rentometer.com, this one here, and I include nice amenities, and I charge the average rent of $3,163 per month. Next, I just have to calculate the expenses. I start with the mortgage payment, which you can actually estimate on Zillow. It will give you an estimate over here. In this case, it's $2,248 per month. Next, we have general maintenance expenses, and I assume that to be about 1% of the total property price. So in this case, the property price is $330,000. 1% of that is $3,300 per year, which is $275 a month. Then finally, we have vacancy. If I had only 1 month of vacancy, that means we lose out on $3,163 in the year. If I divide this by 12 months, that means on a monthly basis, I'm losing out on about $263 a month. So putting this all together, you take your rental income of $3,163, subtract out your mortgage payment of $2,248, then subtract your maintenance expenses of $275, and then finally, subtract out your vacancy cost, which is $263. And that leaves you with $377 per month in cash flow on this property that we're looking at. Now, of course, there are a lot more factors to look at, like, is there actually a lot of housing demand in that city that you're looking at? And how do you attract your high-quality tenants? This is what we go over in my private group coaching program, which you can access at www.newbierealestateInvesting.com/coaching if you're interested. Now, let's go over the final step, step number 4, which is to build your network. And all of this starts with finding your rockstar real estate agent, because your agent is basically a linchpin to access a huge variety of local resources that will be super important along your journey. A great rockstar real estate agent will naturally work with other rockstars. Rockstar lenders, contractors, and handyman, and even a rockstar property manager. So when you're vetting your agent, I recommend being very careful and very picky about who you select. You'll want to read through their reviews on Google, Zillow, Yelp, and look for a couple things. Are they an investor themselves or worked with other investors before? That way, they know exactly what you're looking for as an investor versus somebody who's just looking for a family house. Also, do they have at least 5 years of experience in this specific market? That way, they can tell you as soon as they walk into a house, oh yeah, this house is priced just right because I sold 5 other deals at this price point. Or maybe this is way too high for what it's offering and I've sold so many houses at a much lower price point. They can give you the inside knowledge if this is a good deal or not. The last thing I ask is, are they responsive? Next, I test them. If they don't pick up, I leave a voicemail saying that I'm super interested in buying a property as soon as possible. And if they don't get back to me within the first 24 hours, to use Kevin O'Leary's phrase from Shark Tank, they are dead to me. No, seriously, think about it. If they are responsive, then they will be able to put an offer on a house so that you can snatch it up before other investors have a chance to start a bidding war with you, which nobody wants. Finally, you will want to interview the realtor and ask them some very specific interview questions. Now, I have a full list of interview questions as part of my private coaching program, which you can get access to in the link down below in the description. So there you go. Those are the 4 steps to getting started in real estate investing. If you liked this video and found it helpful, please share it with your friends. Also, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe so that I can reach more people who are struggling with just taking that very first step in real estate investing. Thank you.